Hello everybody, welcome back to Wolfeei Actions. Today we're going to be looking at something that I think is maybe a little bit ahead of when it technically should be looked at, but as you can see from the amount of tabs I have, people have been active. Today we're looking at Reddit's MCC Blank Canvas predictions, team predictions to be specific, because I don't actually think many, if any, people have made a prediction of just what they think the event is going to be. I assume people assume it's just a kickoff type of event, but I guess that'll maybe be another time that we'll look at people's theories of what this event actually will have. But regardless, I think this is 11 sets of teams, so that is 110 players. There's going to be a lot of duplicates that we're going to be looking at. No, not 110. 110 teams, 440 players with overlap. Let's just see what people are cooking up. We're going to go in chronological order from the latest to the most recent. The latest being within a week from today, previously, to like 2 days ago. Starting off with this one. This one I think may have already been shown. I feel like I mentioned this one, so I'm going to just keep it a bit brief. Also, I don't want to just yap about teams that much, because as much as it's fun to analyze what works and doesn't work, I feel like there's a lot of repetitive stuff that I talk about, a lot of repeats. So, just to quickly look at it, Purple and Joel is a highly requested duo to happen. I think they at some point mentioned that they wanted to team together, or Joel may have said something. I think Joel also likes teaming with S tiers, so that helps a lot. Also, Ant and Joel is another popular duo that we'll probably see a bit more. Seth Bling being potentially a newcomer would be interesting. I don't think he's expressed interest besides applying for MCC Rising, though I don't think that means anything. Additionally, I think if Seth Bling plays, he'll probably be with Etho or Misty, but I guess either of those could work. Shanna Haley duo makes sense, of course. SB being back would be interesting. Anything else super particular? Curry being invited would be really cool. I do think this is maybe a little... actually, for MCC standards, this could be strong enough, but I think some of the teams could definitely be a little strong. This yellow team feels like it could be pretty good, compared to what I've seen so far, of course. Cleo being in a regular event would be interesting. Ross and Cherry being invited as newcomers could be fun. I previously said that I didn't think Cherry was going to get in because they're in Noxtrew. That is not true. They just work for Noxtrew, but they're not part of Noxtrew. It's more like a... I guess, I don't even know what to call it. But they're eligible to play, probably. We have to assume yes, because they're not a Noxtrew member. But Ross would make a lot of sense. I think Ross is probably top 3, top 5 potential newcomers, assuming that Ross has showed interest, which I think they have. Of course, I hope Phil is in rotation again. And Doc as a newcomer could be interesting. Yeah, Cookie God also playing his second MCC could be fun. Cookie's been actively... well... He signed up for Block Wars, right? So maybe he'll sign up for MCC too. I don't know. Moving along. We have not a tier maker version, but a regular team announcement version. Any team that I think is not going to include newcomers or irregular players, I think is not going to be one that I'll mostly talk about, in which this one falls under that. Though what is interesting to note here is that this is pretty strong, especially for Fruit. Keep in mind, Fruit in MCC does not need buff teams. He's been niced a good amount. Also, he's been popping off a lot, so I think he's okay to just not get a really strong team. I feel like I've also talked about this before. Maybe this was on stream. Green being in again would be cool. We don't know if Green will play in the regular ones. He's played. I guess he played in the Halloween event as a substitute, so maybe. Relatively standard would be interesting to see if Puffy signs up for regular events, not just Party 2. I guess that is unknown to us for now. I think Harvey hasn't played much recently, but I think he played in the Halloween one, so maybe. G would be cool to see back. G played in Toby's boot camp thing, which included Block Wars, so maybe that could spark her interest in playing MCC again. MCC was announced already by the time that G was playing that, so maybe she'll sign up. Yep, pretty standard team, relatively standard team again. Piso and Amy being back in a regular event would be interesting. This is also, obviously, Purple Hannah duo would be super hype. Doc, one of the most requested newcomers. My take is that I don't think Doc would be in the first one, but I would love to see him in the first one. I just think that he'll take a little bit more time to wait to join the roster. And then, relatively standard team. Next up, we have this one with a very fancy looking team announcement template. Pangy and Ross being newcomers and this being a almost full repetitive team from Block Wars would make a lot of sense. I don't know if Scott pays attention to events like Block Wars for team making, etc. So I don't know if he's aware that these people would fit together and make sense to be on the same team. But if he does, this would make a lot of sense. This would be a very good opening team, I think. If this was the opening team announcement for MCC Blank Canvas, I think I would be very excited. So this is a very big cook. Curry being also included, very good. The potential assumption is that with Blank Canvas, we're going to get kind of a refresh roster as well, which could mean there's a lot of returning and potential newcomer players. Of course, this one includes 2 newcomers. This one includes, I would say, arguably 2 returning players, considering Tango is an irregular player and Curry is a very irregular player. They both actually, their most recent event is the same event, being Twitch Rivals NA last year, so would be fun to see them back. I also don't know how often Pearl has played. I think Pearl's most recent event may have also been Twitch Rivals, so would be cool to see them all back. Next up, though, also I like the balancing here so far. Feels a bit lower comp, but not like low, but like lower, which I think is good. Would be a classic fun team. Cookie God being back again, like mentioned, would be fun. This feels like a odd mix, but I think it'd work. Of course, Smant being back would be really exciting. Parker inclusion is rare. I don't think Parker is going to be an MCC, not because I don't think he deserves it. I would love to see Parker in MCC. I just don't think he is that interested to even reach out, and I don't think Scott would invite him just randomly, right? I don't think that would happen. I think there's other Lifesteal members that Scott would go for first if he were to invite any of them. So yeah, and SB being back, of course, would be really cool. Relatively standard team. Would be fun to see Rendog back, of course. I think Ren did play in he played in Party because he was on Haley's team. Speaking of, this would be super sick. An iconic duo, and then a duo that I think people want to see, that being Shane and Haley, would be really fun. Yep, sure. And then Extreme Copium, but holy moly, if this was the pink team, I would be ecstatic. This person did make about the perfect 2-team. Actually, some of these announcements I think would just be some of these teams really would be extremely good to have in Blank Canvas. I think if some of these were accurate, that would be genuinely really good. Especially red would be very good. I think orange would be really exciting, of course. This would be very out of nowhere, but I think it'd be cool. Would be fun. This is unrealistic, but I think it'd be really exciting if it happened. This would be really hype, I think, for a lot of people, and I think this would be extremely hype, especially for a pink team announcement. Absolutely insane. Hopefully, hey, if this were to be a team, Build Mart being in would be really cool, because Green and Fine, some of the best Build Mart POVs I've ever witnessed would be super sick to see. Next up, though, we have another Blank Canvas prediction. This one being potentially higher comp again, with a Lifesteal trio plus Elena. Could be pretty fun. Catherine Elizabeth being back in rotation for a regular event would be curious. I don't know if they would, but it would be fun if they were to be interested. Relatively standard. Doc, of course, inclusion as well. I think Doc and Fine would make a lot of sense to be on the same team for Doc's first event. I think Fine is a very good introductory teammate, though I will say that Shane and H-Bomb, of course, there's plenty other really good players that you could pair up with Doc that would help a lot for his first event. I think Fine is a very good candidate, though. Would be really cool. Green and Sneak Snack, interesting crossover, but sure. Then, nothing in particular to point out here yet. This would be cool. Ross and Mythical Sausage would be a combo from the Realm. That would be really exciting. And clearly, Shane and Haley is highly requested, at least to an extent, to be in the same team. I think that'd be really fun. Kind of similar to how Shane and Joel was kind of the most requested thing to happen in Kickoff, and then we got it. Maybe Shane and Haley will actually end up happening. I assume if they sign up, which they definitely did, they'll probably ask for each other. And I think it's relatively balanced if it happens as well. Here we have another one. This one looks crazy, though. There's a Spanish team on red with Sprain as a newcomer, and then we know Aquino at least mentioned something about MCC, but we don't know if Aquino would be in. Teams are not done yet, I'm fairly sure, right? So there's absolutely 0% confirmation. Would be super exciting, though, to have a random Spanish team appearance again, especially if Sprain is in there. Then this orange team is kind of an Among Us type of crowd, roughly. Could be really fun. This yellow one is also kind of an Among Us type of crowd, which would be really fun again as well. This is a pretty interesting Lime team approach for Shane. Martin, of course, being a repeat teammate, but Shane also, I think, is kind of on a Hermitcraft collection arc as well. I don't think he's like trying for it that much, but I think if he can collect more Hermits, I think he'll gladly take it. In which Pearl and False, I think, would be a fun combo. There, of course, the Canadian team on green would be extremely exciting. Another Doc inclusion here. Doc and Ren, I do think makes a lot of sense. I think that Ren, from my little bit of research I did when talking about Doc, I think Ren was one of the people that Doc has done the most with on Hermitcraft, so that would make sense as a combo. I also know from the Hermitcraft rap that Grian is somebody that Doc would make a lot of sense with, so that'd be cool. Also, you see the Purple and Joel duo again, so this would make a lot of sense. This would be a really, really hype team. Could be really on any of the hype colors. It would make a lot of sense. This is my first inclusion in the in the team predictions. With a insanely copium team, but holy, if that was a real team, that would genuinely be incredible. Me and Booster, I think, have solidified ourselves as a duo a lot recently. I don't think it's like a super well-known duo, but within our communities, it is pretty well established. And I think it's a really, really fun duo. I think there's never been a situation where it has... There's rarely a situation where I don't think it results in good content. I think the most mixed result so far was the Boblo blockers because we just were getting unlucky. Jack being in would be fun, and Connor making a return would be sick. We know Connor signed up for MCC Party, I'm fairly sure. So maybe he'd sign up again, maybe. I don't know. Maybe he'll only sign up for party type events. I don't know. Pete and H duo would be very cool to see as a return. It's definitely been a long time since, and I feel like it's relatively balanced. I don't know how well or how good of a team H has had recently, but I know Pete is somebody that people talk about for needing a buff, so this could be a fun way to buff Pete. Also, X would get a win or get a finale team in general, which would be really exciting. Then an all-women team on purple, very cool. Jojo Hanadu is iconic, of course. Sasha being in a regular event, solo again as a solo simmer would be super sick as well. We saw Gluon play completely by himself in Party, which was very exciting. And then Pink, maybe slight copium, though I would say that aside from Fit, I could see Curry being invited, I could see Toby sign up, and I could very much see Phil sign up. And I'm fairly sure Phil and Curry know each other, and Curry might know Fit as well, so this actually would make a lot of sense. So hey, W teams. Next up, we're at a halfway point now. Surprisingly, only been 12 minutes. I've been actually going through these pretty quickly. Another set where we've got some interesting predictions here. Red Dune's inclusion would be super sick. Makes sense here. Then orange is relatively standard. Yellow is relatively standard. Fruit and green would be super hype, of course. Green with mythical sausage would be an interesting combination. Doc inclusion again, of course. Sasha inclusion again as well. Very interesting. Shane and Haley inclusion again as well. Sam being back would be interesting. I don't know when the last event was that Sam played in. I feel like Sam did Sam play a single event in Season 4? I feel like he didn't. Interesting. Then we get to purple, which is me again. But the main thing that is super interesting about purple here is that we've got some insanely hype team, and you put it on purple. I love purple pandas, but hey, at least it's not on lime, right? At least you still did put fruit and green on lime, but this purple team is insane. I actually wouldn't be surprised if none of the people on this purple team were in this event. I think the most likely people would be Toby and Smant, of course, assuming that Scott reaches out to people to play, because Smant is somebody who will probably not sign up by himself unless a player asks or the organizer asks, from experience. Ludwig, I don't think will be in a regular MCC, if I had to guess. I think he'll only be in a charity one, if at all, because I don't know if he even wants to touch Minecraft at this point. But regardless, pink team could be interesting. Cheap Pickle, I think, is a very unlikely newcomer, but it would be really fun to see Cheap Pickle, and it would be a very out-of-nowhere addition. So, very cool. Then you have this one, which is a little low-res. This one has essentially a Pride team, right, on red. This has a lot, 3 people who are almost exclusively playing in Pride, with Toby being the more regular player on this team. Akko, I don't think, would be in this event regardless because of the recent post they made, of traveling and not really doing content much. I would be surprised if they would be around for MCC. I think they would probably be out doing whatever they're doing, right? Harry inclusion would be really cool. I think it would be really fun to have what I think is a Vault Hunters team. I don't know if Martin was on Vault Hunters, but H and Jordan were some of the most active Vault Hunters, and so was Harry. So it would be really cool. Then Michael Reeves is definitely unrealistic in my opinion. I don't even know if he'd get re-invited at all because he no-showed completely for the Pride event last year. I don't know if he ever said something post that, but I don't think he did. But this would be really hype. Same with Saikuna. I don't think Saikuna would play outside of Pride. So that's my take on that. Cyan, a little copium. I think if I were to even be invited, I would definitely not be paired up with Shane unless the other two players were literally rocks, and Impulse and Scar are very much not literal rocks. They are actually pretty decent. So as much as I would really enjoy this team, definitely not happening. Lizzie inclusion would be really fun. I think if Lizzie plays an MCC, it would be either a Pride or maybe a Twitch Rivals, assuming that, Joel goes to a TwitchCon and brings Lizzie along, which we don't know if that would be the case. Feinberg and Curry on the same team, very unlikely as well. I think Feinberg is going to get the treatment of not nerfing, but very much a team that isn't going to look strong on the balancing sheet, probably, because that would probably lead to him getting to the finale at this current moment. This purple team would be really interesting. Phil and Pete, or Pizza, or Phil's a Hut is, I think, what it's called, right? Would be a fun combination together. And then sandwich inclusion would be very surprising, honestly, but would be really cool. How many S tiers are even missing from this? I feel like there's only a few, if any, right? Ants in, so no, I don't know who would be missing here. I'm probably just completely forgetting somebody, so that's my bad. But interesting. Okay, 4 left. Here we go. This red team is crazy. Not only is Etho coming back, Ross being one of the most requested newcomers, then you also have Ant and Joel. This would be an insanely strong opening team. In terms of popularity, would be definitely something. So that's interesting. Then for the rest, I think we're getting relatively standard combos here. Shane and Ollie, I know, wanted to team together at some point, so that'd be very fun. Then you have another full women team in Aqua here. I do think that would be really fun to see as well. And then on Pink, of course, Fine and Doc on the same team again would be cool. With Ren would make a lot of sense. With Ant Venom could be pretty fun as well. I don't know if Ant Venom and Doc know each other. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. So this could be a very solid, not pink team, but I would say like a solid green team, or maybe a cyan team, or maybe even a red team. Next up, though, we have another set of solo team announcements. Of course, this would be a really exciting opening team. Green and Etho on the same team, I think, has to happen at some point, surely. And Joel and Jimmy is a very solid duo. This would definitely be a bit lower comp, but definitely not a bad team. Then would be fun. I think a Pete and Scott duo would be very fun for sure. Doc inclusion as again as well with 2 Hermits would be pretty solid. This could be really fun too. A lot of Hermit inclusion, which I like. Fine and Smant, if Smant were to play again, would be definitely a solid combo as well. I think Smant being Fine's second frag, or like one of his middle frags on a potential team, could be really solid, and I think it's definitely not impossible to happen for a first event back. I think Scott is very much aware that this would be something people want to see, especially with the recent pop-off performance in the Bablu block course. I think a Fine and Smant duo would be super hype. Then Pangy inclusion, I would love to see that, of course. Dutch rep. Hey, I'm just saying, man, Pangy probably also top 5 most likely newcomers at this point for MCC. We know he is interested, so I think it is possible to see him in the rotation. And I think there is a pretty good chance that we get a handful of newcomers. I don't think it's going to be an insane amount. Like last time, I don't think we're going to get 6 or 7. I think it'll be like 3, probably, which should be very fun. Next up, yep, very solid team, of course. Owen, Toby, and Beck, very, very hype trio, of course. And then I think Ross fits super well there as the 4th. Very solid team here as well, very fun. Then Curry inclusion again. This would be quite a peculiar combination. I think Sneeg would be maybe slightly out of place, but I do think it could work out pretty well. And then crazy, throwing in Cookie God, Evbo, Seawat, and Jordan on Pink. I don't think Evbo and Seawat are likely to be in MCC considering how MCC approaches their roster, but maybe we'll be surprised. I don't know. That would be fun though. Next up, you have this set of teams, which has a lot of similarities in terms of the types of rosters that we looked at. Yellow has another full women team, which would be very, very exciting. We have on pink a Fruit and Green duo again. You have Fine with Hermits and then Mog Swamp again. Then you have another interesting combo, Jojo, Joel, Cookie God, and Tango. Feels very strong, but could be pretty interesting. And yeah, pretty solid roster for the rest. Orange team would be pretty fun, I think, as well. I think that's a cool vibe for Shane, 100%. Anyways, also, red team would be super sick. It's just a very much dude energy, and I like dude energy teams. I think those are fun. And then finally, we have the most recent team prediction. Another low-res one. Ant and Joel duo with Amy and Ross could be very fun, definitely. Then, very solid team as well. I think this would make a lot of sense for Orange, specifically, of course. Would be very fun team. One thing I will say, though, maybe this is applied to some of the previous teams, too. I would like to see Shane with people that he hasn't teamed with before. These are all repeat teammates for him, but hey, it's a fun team, so I don't think it'd be any problem at all in terms of it being... repetition is not really that big of a deal when the team is fun, so I don't think that would be that big of a problem. Could be interesting. I think a 5-up false duo would be really fun to see at some point. Shadun and Impulse is interesting. I think Impulse there would make sense. Shadun maybe would be better fit on a different team. I think the way that 5-up false and Impulse play the event would maybe differ a little bit from Shadun's approach generally. But I think it could work out, so maybe. This would be sick. Is this a full dads team? Well, I guess Phil's not a dad yet, I think, but Martin and Sneak and Skiz, I think, all are. And then you got Dadza there, so almost a full dad team. Would be super awesome. Fruit and Green, I've already said it. Super exciting, potentially. Jordan there fits really well. Scar would be really fun as well. Again, Doc inclusion would make sense with Ren. Purple and H-Bomb duo, though. A little bit less expected, but could be really fun. Again, we see Fine and Ant on the same team. I think Jevin and X would make sense to pair up with Fine as well. I think Fine is also somebody who could potentially collect the Hermits, in which I don't think he's teamed with either Jevin or X yet. I might be wrong, but I don't think he has, so hey, would be fun. Then, really solid team here. Pete and Dave could be an interesting way to buff Pete as well. Dave is a very good second frag in this case. Could be a fun team. And then Pilly, I think, right? Pilly being included could be kind of surprising. Hey, this is a full realm team, though. So Hannah, Pangy, Mythical Sausage, and Pilly. Could be a fun combination for sure. Pilly and Pangy is a very solid duo to potentially include in MCC, especially considering Scott is probably aware of that, considering he is on the realm, so it would be fun. Also curious to see if Pangy is included. What type of skill level does Scott think Pangy actually is? Because maybe he's better or worse than he expects, so could be interesting. Anyways, let me know your thoughts on which team prediction you like the most. And we'll probably do another one of these when we have a bit more info about the event and when there's more predictions coming in. So stay tuned for that, probably a week or two from now before the teams actually come out, assuming that we get enough predictions to work with. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts on which teams you think are the most exciting. I think this post had some stuff that was really hype. There was multiple teams here that I think would genuinely be really exciting if they were to be real. And I think there's an okay chance that they could actually end up being real. And I think there was this post, which has some inclusions that I think would be really exciting as well. If there was a way to mix this one with this one, in which I think this is probably one of the prime examples, this and then this, would be sick. If that was the actual roster, I would be super excited. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you later. Goodbye.